I just want to maybe make a couple comments. Last night, I think on a nice bipartisan basis, we passed a reform measure in the name of GAMC, which I think is going to certainly preserve that program in one sense. But I think it's also going to take healthcare as we know it, at least in terms of the delivery of healthcare from the standpoint of public policy. And I think we moved into a world of reform there that we've not been in before, and frankly, not a lot of other states in the country have been in, and that's where we've begun to pay more for, if you will, results, quality and results, less for procedures. And I think as you read about healthcare reform, nearly everybody in the country that wants to talk about that talks in terms of that sort of a direction, and the GAMC bill, I think, is going to take us there. And to some extent, it is an experiment. We all understand that, but going down the same old path, the same old way on into the future, I don't think was necessarily going to take this state anywhere either. And we all know that last night was either the new reformed GAMC or to roll out MNCare. And I think, as it turned out, with a nice bipartisan vote, I think we're going to go the right direction there. And obviously, as we get more experience with that, it's going to fix itself. Or we'll fix it as necessary, no question about that. As we look through the week, obviously we finally, I believe, completed bonding for the session, and there again I would simply say, as we and as the governor has stated all through this session, coming into this session, we knew the parameters of bonding. Perhaps we didn't understand them, but we certainly knew them. A good bill around $750 million, $725 million, encompassing some of his priorities of the bill he's going to sign. And I don't think the legislature quite got there, but nonetheless, we've got a situation now where I think bonding is completed. It's $680. I guess there's an invitation extended if we want a comeback bonding bill of a smaller nature, but I'm not altogether sure that's going to happen. And then I just want to talk a little bit about budget, because as we move forward now, that's going to be the central theme for the next month and a half, whatever we have left in the session, and then how we do it in process. And I think that's going to be terribly important. And as you probably know from Senator Poggemiller, this process, albeit I think will probably be a failed process, will start next Monday as we bring the Cohen bill in and take a piecemeal approach to trying to fabricate a budget. We're going to bring the Cohen bill in. He's going to substitute with the governor's provisions, and how we go on that, I don't know. I suspect we're going to have some support within our caucus, but the idea that we go down the road of piecemeal budgeting, meaning that we don't see the entire budget at one time, either the governor's or the Senate majority's budget at the same time, I think it's frankly just destined for failure. It's not going to go anywhere. I can't speak for the governor, but I would not believe that the governor would sign a piecemeal budget from the standpoint of what comes off the floor on Monday. And I just can't believe that this is the way that you ought to go about this. We ought to be sitting down side by side, budget side by side. Let's look at this hard. Let's look at where we can agree. Let's look at where we differ. Let's see where the DFL majority may want tax increases. I don't know. We don't know that yet, how we're going to fill these gaps. But my understanding is we got about a $680 million gap there somehow to fill. Now, the governor has filled that gap, and you can argue about whether or not he's filled it in a style that you like, but he's filled it. We've got yet to see the DFL majority, putting that, putting the numbers to that gap. So as we move forward, I think that's going to be the great discussion around here, how we get there. It's always this way, whether it's 2007, 2008. We go down this trail. This is sort of replicating in my mind in terms of the approach that we take, but we're going to replicate the past, I suspect. We're going to take a ride to veto land, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to sort of rechurn and generate and hopefully come up with a budget reconciliation here that works. On the other hand, if we don't get there, we'll just go into the interim and through the summer and leave it for next year's next year's legislative body to deal with, and I don't think any of us want that, but I suspect that's a potential if we just can't come to some kind of agreement. So I hope not. I suspect the majority leader hopes not, but I think the whole process would be much better done if we simply, again, sat down side by side, looked at the numbers, and frankly tried to agree upon something. I saw that not in the same scope and nature of the subject, but I saw that work so well in putting that GAMC bill together. If we could take that model and apply it to the budget bill, I think we'd be just fine, and we'd frankly be leaving here on May 16th or before with a budget that works for Minnesota going forward. I don't know, and then beyond that, I would just offer some degree of disappointment given the federal health care bill, which is going to likely be voted on this weekend, probably Sunday. Certainly our side would have been, was urging and would very much like to have talked on the floor, had a debate about that federal health care bill and how it certainly affects Minnesota. Senator Ortman had some ideas in terms of the constitutionality relative to the 10th Amendment, relative to the Commerce Clause of the Constitution that she wanted to discuss. I think it would have been good if we could have had that discussion. It's not going to occur. It is occurring in committee, thank goodness, but it will never certainly see the light of day on the floor. We can't come to some sort of an agreement by May 16th. I doubt that the governor is going to call a special session on this, although I don't know that, but if we don't reach an agreement, the question will be whether or not the governor calls a special session to do that, or if he simply leaves it to the next legislature, and you'll have to ask him. I don't think they'd feel anything initially. Frankly, I think they'd see that proposal. If you're talking about the Cohen bill, as it is passing, I think it would go downstairs, and then I'll just say I believe that it would be vetoed, basically because I don't think the governor wants to find himself trapped into voting for a partial budget, and I think he wants to see it all. You know, throughout all of it, I mean, if you just go down the line, there's cuts throughout, and we're gonna see a Minnesota going on into the future that's not going to, frankly, enjoy many of the government programs that we have now to the degree that we have them. I think specifically, as you look at the budget and the Cohen budget, there's a lot of concern about public safety in my caucus. A lot of concern about additional cuts in the court, but more so from the standpoint of differences relative to Democrat versus the governor's proposal. The cuts in public safety, and particularly in Department of Corrections, are concerning. Senator Ingebrigtsen himself is very, very concerned about that. So, to the degree that the public sees those or notices those, it's hard to say. But certainly, if you're on the inside, you realize that. We've got some concerns there and corrections that we have to take care of. They're easy to ignore. This piecemeal approach to budgeting, we got to see the whole budget. We're not going to get Juana trapped as a caucus. We're not going to want to find ourselves in that situation. I don't think he's going to want to find himself in a situation. He limits his options after that if he signs those bills, and I don't believe that he's going to want to go down that road. I have not talked to him, but. I can only say if I was governor, I would. You just got to look at the budget in its entirety, not unlike everyone back home does, or not unlike you probably do. You want to know what the budget is.
I was going to say that you voted against Plenty's budget. If you vote against it Monday, this amendment that he'll offer, he will say is Plenty's budget.
Well, if we vote that way, and we haven't caucused this yet, but if we vote that way. My retort would be that I didn't get a chance to vote entirely on the governor's budget. Give me the budget in the entirety, and that might be a different consideration.